An interesting news has recently surfaced, and hopefully a very good news, especially for all of those wannabe pilots out there. And that news is directly linked to today's topic, that is pilot training really getting cheaper in India? If you want to know the answer to that question and also what the news is, and if you're ready, fasten those seatbelts because we're ready for takeoff. What's up, fellow aviators, and welcome back to the FlyTuber, flying simplified through YouTube. My name is Ali Asghar, and on this channel I talk about aviation facts, aircraft knowledge, some news, and some interesting topics on this channel related to aviation. So if you are interested in all those topics and you are new here, you might want to consider subscribing. Now, before we actually start off with today's actual video topic, firstly I'd like to let you know that the number of videos on this channel is actually slowly picking up, and it's a wide variety of videos. So because of that, I have curated different playlists. So I highly suggest you to watch and go ahead and check out the playlists in the playlists tab on this channel, and it will be easier for you to guide and navigate through the different topics, and the different types of videos are sorted out under one single playlist. Just for an example, lately I have been making videos on the financial aspects of pilot training, like how much does pilot training cost and how to reduce them, and just like this video wherein I'm talking whether the pilot training in India might get cheaper or not. So you can find all of these videos under one single playlist named as All Financial Talks, so make sure to check that playlist out. Well, moving on towards today's topic itself, the big news that had come up in the last week of January is Indian Oil Corporation had announced that it will be producing the fuel required for pilot training aircrafts locally in India itself starting March next year. Now, Indian Oil Corporation is one of the leading oil and gas companies here in India, one of the leading suppliers to the airliners with airline fuel, and also it is one of the leading suppliers to the flight schools with fuel that is required for pilot training aircrafts. Now, this probably is a very wonderful news, especially for all of you wannabe pilots out there who want to start off with their pilot training career sooner or later. And let's discuss whys and hows of this news and how is it going to affect the costing of your pilot training career in the future. Well, to answer these whys and hows, let's quickly talk a little bit about fuel. There are very different types of fuels available that power different types of aircrafts, but among those there are two most common types of fuels, which is ATF or aviation turbine fuel, shortly termed as AVTUR, and the other is AVGAS or aviation gasoline fuel. Aviation turbine fuel is used to power bigger spark ignition gas turbine engines, which is basically the bigger engines fitted on these passenger jetliners. And AVGAS or aviation gasoline is the fuel which is used for smaller piston engine propeller driven aircrafts like the training Cessna 172s and 152s, etc. Well, there is a lot to learn about fuel in itself, like there are different types of AVGAS like AVGAS and AVGAS 100LL, etc. But let's spare all of that for another video. But let's discuss one key aspect about fuel that is related to today's video, that is pricing. Well, the first, I think, irrelevant for this video fact about pricing of the fuel is that actually aviation turbine fuel is very cheap than AVGAS. Yes, it's almost half the price of AVGAS, and I myself was astonished when I got to know about this news back in my training days, but yes, that's the truth. Well, that means that AVGAS is actually almost double the price of aviation turbine fuel. But why is it so? Well, the main reason is that firstly, crude oil is the raw material for AVGAS. Secondly, the manufacturing process is itself very complicated, requires a lot of refining and distillation processes, etc. And finally, the transportation and taxes on this fuel. Well, those are the factors and reasons why AVGAS is actually pretty costly. But then if a company here in India itself locally produces the AVGAS, then how would it affect the final pricing point offered by the flight schools for pilot training? Let's have a look at that. But before that, if you're getting value out of this video, hit that like button and do subscribe to the channel and share this video with as many friends as you possibly can. Well, even if an Indian company would produce AVGAS locally in India itself, the raw material would still be crude oil, and it wouldn't have any effect on reducing the fuel prices and ultimately the pilot training costs. But then the other two factors play a key role in reducing these costs, and that is firstly, when earlier fuel used to be imported from foreign manufacturers, then that manufacturer would use to keep its own margin and then sell it to the Indian distributor like Indian Oil Corporation, which would then pass it on to the Indian flight schools, keeping their own margin, and then finally the flight schools would further provide the services to the students, keeping their own margin, and then taxes, etc., which would all bring the cost that you would finally pay really up. But now that the fuel would be produced here in India itself, this would bring down the cost because of obviously a lot of reduction in taxes and obviously less number of parties involved. One of the most important questions that comes to my head after looking at all this news is that once this deal actually closes down, would the flight schools want to reduce the cost of pilot training courses, or would they want to keep the extra savings on the fuel prices as their own margin? So let's have a quick look at this question. To answer that question, and this is my personal intake though, is that the cost of pilot training would still majorly depend upon demand and supply. So if the demand increases, which actually is increasing, then the cost of pilot training would reduce, because in that case flight schools would have to compete, and then the competition would force these flight schools to reduce the cost of pilot training, if not by much. And yes, demand is actually rising lately. Even after such a big downfall in the aviation industry throughout the world, we have actually seen one of the leading airliners here in India coming up with vacancy in their airline for first officers. Obviously that wasn't for freshers, but then the number of required experience and hours was way too less to be coming with such a vacancy after such a downfall after COVID. I personally hope that the cost of pilot training does come down in the near future, because I myself have been through that phase and I understand the pain of the students for whom the cost of pilot trainings are way too high. But definitely it will be worth waiting and watching as to what is in store for this industry, especially for you who want to be pilots in the near future. So fingers crossed. Question of the day: do you think that this deal will actually close down and the cost of pilot training will actually reduce in the near future? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you liked it, and as a gentle reminder, I have curated separate playlists on this channel for your ease of navigation across the videos and the types of videos on this channel. So I highly recommend you to watch and check out those playlists. And apart from that, I am coming up with one or probably two videos related to finances of pilot training, which is one of the very frequently asked questions on this channel and a very important one, so you wouldn't want to miss out on that video. For that, I highly recommend you to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell icon. On that note, one of the subscribers actually said that he is still not receiving notifications even though he has pressed the notification bell icon, and for that I'd like to let you know that after you press the notification bell, click on all instead of personalized. That will make sure that you receive notification irrespective of what your personal settings are, and then also make sure that your device is actually allowing YouTube to send you notifications from your settings in your personal and respective devices. Well, that's it for this video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, share the video with as many friends as you possibly can. I'll be coming up with a very interesting video very soon. Until then, take care and happy landings.